May God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place. And may God bless our nation. Remain standing as we do the opening prayer, as we bow our heads. Almighty God, creator of the universe, we thank you for the blessing of beginning yet another initiative for the development of our nation. We thank you for the opportunity to improve the quality of life for our citizens. We are ever mindful of the fact that you have blessed us with so much. Even in the midst of this uncertain global and economic climate, you have given our leaders the ability to focus and steer the path to progress with stability. We entreat your blessings today at the launch of these new ventures, as there is nothing we can achieve without you. May you be glorified through this supplication, which we pray will redound to the welfare of our blessed land. Grant safety and development for these projects and all their users for generations to come. Amen. Amin. Namaste. We may be seated. Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. The Honorable Terence Dial Singh, Minister of Health. The Honorable Stuart R. Young, Minister of National Security and Member of Parliament, Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West. Senator the Honorable Alison West, Minister of Public Administration and Digital Transformation. Mr. Asif Ali, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health. Dr. Roshan Parasram, Chief Medical Officer. Ms. Abina Hartley, Councillor, Port of Spain North. Mr. Noel Garcia, Chairman of the Urban Development Corporation of Trinidad and Tobago, Management and Staff of UDICOT. Mr. Emil Elias, Executive Chairman, NH International Caribbean Limited, Management and Staff of NH International Caribbean Limited, Executives of Republic Bank Limited, members of the media, members of the national public viewing live on TTT, UDICOT's Facebook page, and listening on I-95.5 FM. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Marc-Andre Augustus, your Master of Ceremonies for this proceeding. Kindly welcome the Honorable Stuart R. Young, Minister of National Security and Member of Parliament, Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, to bring us his welcoming remarks.
Thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. Dr. the Honorable Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, my Cabinet colleagues, Honorable Terence Dial Singh, Minister of Health, Senator the Honorable Alison West, Minister of Public Administration and Digital Transformation, Mr. Asif Ali, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Dr. Roshan Parasram, Chief Medical Officer, Ms. Abina Hartley, Councillor of Port of Spain North, Mr. Noel Garcia, Chairman of UDICOT, Management and Staff of UDICOT, Mr. Emil Elias, Executive Chairman of NH International Caribbean Limited, Management and Staff of NHIC, Executives of Republic Bank, members of the media, members of the national public viewing and listening, ladies and gentlemen. It's indeed a pleasure and a privilege and a welcome change to really just bring a few remarks as the Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, and to wear that hat today as opposed to any other ministerial hat I may wear. So I'd like to first of all welcome and thank everyone for coming to the constituency of Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West. I'd like to specially thank the Prime Minister and my Cabinet colleagues who have led the charge with a few projects in Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West. These are very welcome as the MP and very welcome to the constituency. Right around the corner, we have a new community centre going up, not too far from here, an investment in a state-of-the-art central block for the Port of Spain General Hospital. And today, we're here thanks to the commitment of the Cabinet under the leadership of Dr. Rowley to do further work to enhance life in Port of Spain, the capital city of Trinidad and Tobago, and for us to turn the sod for a brand new state-of-the-art headquarters for the Ministry of Health. So as the MP for Port of Spain North, you all would know that this is on the outskirts of Belmont, which is actually one of the first establishments just on the outside of the city and a very important part of the constituency of Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West. We thank you. We thank you for the commitment to the constituency, especially in these difficult economic times. And we look forward, because this is all part, in our view, of the rejuvenation of Port of Spain. So we look forward to that continuation. There's also been a lot of other special projects just around the Savannah in Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, which we're very proud of. The refurbishment of Killarney, the Stallmeyer's Castle, the Whitehall, Millfleur, QRC, and the Magnificent Seven. So we look forward, Prime Minister and Minister, to seeing the new headquarters. It's about time. It's long overdue. I always remembered Ministry of Health being right there on Park Street. And we welcome the move to Port of Spain North from Port of Spain, just on the boundary of Port of Spain South. So we thank you for the commitment. And all I ask as the MP is please remember the constituents when you all are doing the recruitment for the jobs. There is a lot of talent in Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, and I'm sure they will come forward. The legal talent, that is, and work on the construction site. And I wish you all well, and I look forward to the completion of the building. And as the MP, I will be monitoring the progress by peeping my head around the corner to see the progress. And I hope that everything goes well and there's no OSH occurrences, etc. And I really look forward to it. And I thank the Prime Minister and Cabinet for this commitment. And as the MP for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, I welcome you all to a great constituency. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Young. As you can see, we observe the normal protocols for our health and safety during these times. I now call upon the Honorable Terence D'Alsing, Minister of Health, to deliver his remarks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good morning to all. Dr. the Honorable Keith Christopher Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, the Honorable Stuart Richard Young, Minister of National Security and Member of Parliament, Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, Senator the Honorable Alison West, Minister of Public Administration and Digital Transformation, Mr. Asif Ali, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health, Dr. Roshan Parasram, my partner in crime, I should say, Chief Medical Officer, Mr. Bina Hartley, Councillor for Port of Spain North, welcome. Mr. Noel Garcia, Chairman of the Urban Development Corporation of Trinidad and Tobago, UDICOT, who I must say is a pleasure working with Mr. Garcia and his team. His team is an excellent team that has brought Point Fortin Hospital, Arima Hospital, Diego Martin Health Center, all on time and in many cases under budget. So a round of applause for UDICOT, please. Mr. Emil Elias, Executive Chairman, NH International Caribbean Limited, and his staff, executives of Republic Bank, members of the media, members of the national public viewing live on TTT, UDICOT's Facebook page, and listening on I-95.5. Ladies and gentlemen, and Belmont in particular, it is my signal honor to be here today in the company of the Honorable Prime Minister to launch a building project which is 40 years in the making. 40 years in the making. It was March 1991 that this site was originally chosen to be the headquarters of the Ministry of Health. Over that time, designs were done. At one time, I believe, the site was chosen at the old AM Carino site to build a Ministry of Health with a skywalk across to the Port of Spain General Hospital. But today marks 40 years of evolution and commitment, and I am absolutely proud to invite you all today to notice a dream come true. Let me give you some details of the project. The contractor is NH International. It's a lease arrangement, lease to own over a 15-year period. The estimated budget is $249,468,110, VAT exclusive. The contract was signed on the 9th of March 2020. Hard construction, I am told, will start in early 2021. What we did so far is demolition of old buildings. I was here a few weeks ago, and I was told there were some stables which had to be demolished, which were there from colonial times, some horse stables. So all that has been done. The approximate duration of construction is going to be about 2 years. So we will be back here, I hope, with the Prime Minister to officially open it as a Christmas present to Belmont in sometime in December 2022. The building is an 8-story building with parking for 282 spaces. Those are the technical details. But as Minister of Health, in managing the global pandemic, what this will do, it'll give us capacity to administer health from one location, and let me explain what I mean. Right now, the Ministry of Health and its key partners are distributed around 5 separate buildings. We have the Ministry of Health, Park and Edward Street, where we pay a monthly rental of $393,000. We have Park Plaza Building, St. Vincent Street, where we have IT, the vaccination program, maternal and mortality health, where we pay $94,000 a month rent. We have the Sacred Heart Building, where Dr. Hines is located. Many of you who know Dr. Hines now. But having Dr. Hines so far removed from the Ministry of Health does pose some challenges to us, $177,000. We have the gym on Edward Street, $13,500. And most importantly, we pay the rent for PAHO, $134,000. With this one building, we can amalgamate all these divisions into one building. So it means PAHO is on site. It means epidemiology is on site. It means maternal and mortality, maternal and infant health is on site. That will bring a great deal of synergy to the way the Ministry of Health is run. So I look forward to having all these divisions scattered around Port of Spain under one roof with this new building. But this new building is more than a building. The Honorable Prime Minister, with his vision for the redevelopment of Port of Spain, this fits in ideally. Not only the Ministry of Health, but just south to us is 13 stories of the central block going up. Port of Spain, on an average day, welcomes a working population, and we estimate that in Port of Spain proper, with the swelling of those numbers who come into work, we must have medical capacity to deal with 330 to 350,000 persons. So the central block, 540 beds, is a part of the vision that the Honorable Prime Minister has for the redevelopment of Port of Spain. This is part of that vision. The Diego Martin Health Center is part of that vision. The LINAC at St. James is part of that vision. So as we invest in infrastructure, we invest in people, we invest in jobs, as the Honorable Member of Parliament has said. So this is an investment into the future of Port of Spain and its environs. And it's a signal day to be here. And I want to congratulate the Honorable Prime Minister for his vision. And I thank you all for coming here. And I hope to welcome you back in around December 22 for the official opening of the building. Thank you very much, and good morning.
Thank you, Minister Dayal Singh. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to Dr. Keith Rowley, Prime Minister of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago, to deliver the feature address.
Thank you very much, our Master of Ceremonies, once again. Good to see you. And of course, permit me to acknowledge the presence of my cabinet colleagues, Minister of Health, Terence Dayal Singh, Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, Stuart Young, Minister of National Security and Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister, my other cabinet colleague, Senator Alison West, Minister of Public Administration and Digital Transformation. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Health, Mr. Asif Ali, and to welcome to this site, I'm sure he's very excited as well this morning, as I am, our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Roshan Parasram, the Councillor for the area, who is in the forefront of advocating and joining in the welcoming of the vision for an improved and rejuvenated Port of Spain, Councillor Adina Hartley, Mr. Noel Garcia, Chairman of UDICOT, and his team, the management and staff of UDICOT, contractor who would be given the responsibility to deliver as anticipated, once again, NH International's Mr. Emil Elias, management and staff of NH International as well. Very important. Takes money to get it going. So I would like to acknowledge and welcome the management, the executive members of the Republic Bank, who is funding this operation through NH International. Believe it or not, members of the media, members of the national community following us on TTT and on UDICOT's Facebook page and on I-95.5, welcome to this ceremony this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, children at home, welcome to a very important ceremony which signals the movement from one stage to another. This morning, I just want to thank all the people who have made it possible to be here at this time. The last group I want to thank, I don't think anybody's here from that group. It is the Solicitor General's office and the Office of the Attorney General, who we in the cabinet call the big hole. There's a hole in the AG's office where when things go in there, it takes all kinds of things to get it out. And recently, it took a significant amount of effort of a team of ministers to bring out this project, which was mired in there because of one piece of bureaucracy, meaning that the lease had to be paid to the contractor. And the legality was important, but one could not believe that such a small thing could have blocked such a big project. Pay the lease to the contractor, determine the lease, have it paid by the contractor, because the contractor will have the building, and therefore he has to have a lease, and he has to have it paid before the government could build the government building on the government site that the government is paying for. Got that? Okay, that's the Surgeon's office. And of course, I want to indicate the benefits of this project at this time, a project which was conceptualized under, well, we rejoined the 37-year journey. I think it was in the 37th year or the 38th year, we decided that we would get it done. And to get it done, we were doing it in a time when government revenues were not available. And therefore, it could not have been funded in the normal way by the government inviting tenders, evaluating tenders, awarding a contract to a contractor, and paying him at the end of the project or during the construction. That would not have got it done. And we were in danger of another 40 years passing and it not being done. But the government's policy has been, and is, and will be for quite some time, to make governmental decisions in partnership with the private sector. Because one thing that Trinidad and Tobago cannot say is that we do not have resources in the private sector. And even if the government is not with resources in the public sector to do what governments normally do, which is to fund and take responsibility for. If we make governmental decisions, which is what the government can do, and those decisions are beneficial to the state as well as to the private sector, we believe that from time to time we will get synergy between the private and the public sector, and we will get done for the nation what has to be done, especially those things that are not private sector or public sector but are national in scope. This is one of those things. The benefits that the minister mentioned a while ago, you might not be able to put a dollar value to it, but I'm sure you'll appreciate that there is value, and especially at this time, how good it would have been if those of us who were involved in the hourly management of this pandemic, that we were all operating from the same place. It would have made life so much easier and decision-making more effective. But we, before the pandemic came about, even in a period of stringency, significant reduction in government's revenues, we took the position that we are not to mire ourselves in the current situation, but to try and get away from the current situation by thinking about the future and working with, for, and to the future. If we say that the government has no money, therefore we can't do anything, the life of the people of Trinidad and Tobago will become very miserable. But on the other hand, if we say that there are things we can do which are largely being done now, but being driven by an engine that goes well into the future, then the future should meet us further along the way, further along the journey of national development. And that is why we have gone into this private partnership, where the private sector has mobilized the funding. Proper legal arrangements have been made to ensure that the funding is committed to a public project, and the taxpayer representatives are committed to paying for it. And that is why this building will not become owned by the taxpayer for another 15 years. But had we done this 15 years ago, we would have owned the building today. And of course, you would have heard the kind of rentals that one ministry has been engaged in. I was doing some quick calculation as the minister was running through it, and it was approximately $100 million over a period of 15, 20 years. Let's just take one building and its companion downtown Port-of-Spain, because recently one of our leaders have a habit of attempting to mislead the population, because people who are misled will go on to make mistakes. And this morning I want to rectify two of those things, because the public is being fed a diet which is meant to disturb your psyche and to keep you where you are. The Ministry of Health, which is one of 23 ministries, the Ministry of Health has been renting a building on 63 Park Street, as the corner of Park and Edward Street, since May 2004. That building has approximately 43,000 square feet of space. Since May 2004 to now, that exclusive, the rental in that building would have been approximately $60 million. And if you add another one close by with another health department in it, on Independence Square, 10 to 12 Independence Square, these are only two of the rentals in the Ministry of Health. There were more, you heard this morning. That one down in Independence Square has been rented for $100,000 a month. So between the one at the corner of Edward Street and the one at Independence Square, together, between 2004 and the $100,000 one was a little earlier, 1994. But if you compute over the period to now, you would see a rental of $72 million being paid to occupy those spaces. And if we have to walk away today, the state has to go on and find space for those apartments. What we are doing today is engaging in a $200 million project or thereabouts. But what that will do is, once we have the building and we are paying to use it, I would presume that this building will have a lifespan of minimum 40, 50 years or thereabouts. I hope. And compute that and determine how money has been used. And so there is good reason to want to build so as to get out of rental. In fact, I was surprised to find that the Ministry of Health was still in the Edward Street building. Because the last time I had paid attention to rental in the Ministry of Health, it was because the landlord was telling the ministry to get out. Because the landlord wanted this building. The Ministry of Health virtually had nowhere to go. And I suspect that the reason why the Ministry of Health is still there is because they've asked the landlord for some element of forbearance. And that would have pushed us to get here rather than go and look for another landlord. And that's where we are to the Ministry of Health. And it fits in with the whole question of the rejuvenation and regeneration of life in the city of Port of Spain. Because there are a number of things that are happening in the city of Port of Spain which could only have the effect of bringing back people and life and activities to the city of Port of Spain. Whatever they are. Once you're going in that direction, it's a direction which would see the repopulation of the city of Port of Spain. Because professional staff working here on this site, in Port of Spain, whether they're nurses, doctors, phlebotomists, whoever they are, it is our intention that some of those people who may not now live in the city and who may be fighting traffic into the city may see the benefit, one way or the other, whether it's financial or social, personal, of being a denizen of the city. If you look at the geography of the city of Port of Spain, you'll see it's hemmed in by the mountains on the north, the sea on the south, and the swamp, and therefore it's a straight line in and out of the city. Unless we incur huge expense which we cannot even contemplate, that is the fact, the straight line entry and exit to the city of Port of Spain. And that leaves us with this problem of perennial traffic into and out of the city. I know there are many people who will tell us very glibly how to eliminate the traffic. I mean, some would even indicate things that are not even technically feasible. But the bottom line is, Port of Spain is a city that is trapped between the physiography of its location. And once you get into the city, that egress or entrance is your portion. So, we in this government are not accepting that the solution is to empty out the city. Our position is to have more use being made of the infrastructure in the city, because there is significant infrastructure in the city. There was a time when there's a lot of people living in Port of Spain, but over time they've moved out to other areas. Port of Spain, in its current situation, can support a much larger population without too much more expenditure on infrastructure. But as you keep improving the infrastructure, you improve the quality of life that the city can offer. So in 2018, the cabinet took the decision to implement what was contained in the nomenclature of the Ministry of Housing. Because we, as Prime Minister, when I selected the cabinet, I had designated a Minister of Housing and Urban Development. Both of those descriptions apply very heavily to the city of Port of Spain as well as other locations in the country. But housing and urban development are an integral part of that exercise to rejuvenate the city of Port of Spain, because what is missing in Port of Spain is a significant improvement in the quantum and quality of housing, and two, the urban development involves improving areas which are now underdeveloped or developing new aspects of the city which were not there before. That started at the beginning of the last government in 2015. By the time we got to 2018, the specific Port of Spain issues were dealt with. And it was because they were dealt with in a particular way. And let me tell you how they were dealt with. Because there was an editorial in the Express yesterday which shocked me. In 2018, we began in East Port of Spain to communicate with the authorities to see what the law permits. And in case you all are not aware, there's a law in this country which allows the government to carry out slum clearance. So those who want to encourage people to not cooperate with the government, that has already been dealt with by law. As long as the area has been determined to be substandard for human habitation, there's a law that permits slum clearance. Secondly, consultation began in 2018. We did through UDCOT. UDCOT hired experts, and we engaged in communication with the people who were going to be directly affected by any aspect of development in their area which will impact upon their location. Even before that, in 2006 actually, no, 2007, we had reached the point in East Port of Spain where we had actually begun some element of clearance and replacement. And incidentally, the contractor who is here today was the first contractor to have built on a site that was cleared for rebuilding. And I speak here about Clifton Heights, Clifton Towers it's called, where we went in, we consulted with those who were living in one-story substandard housing. We dealt with them very cooperatively. As a matter of fact, the reason why you had not probably known this before is because it was done so well and so smoothly. And then we got the site and we built Clifton Towers, and instead of, I think it was 7 families that were being affected, Clifton Towers housed how many people? By going up, we were able to house very many more families. So 2 8-stories and 1 10-story on a site that only had 5 families living in dilapidated condition. So we've done it. We know what we're doing. And it was done with consultation, planning, and execution. So by the time we got to 2018, where the broader plan was going to be executed, in conjunction with the Member of Parliament and UDCOT's consultants, we had a consultation with the people on the ground in East Port of Spain. And in September 2018, there was a major public consultation at the Government Plaza, which was attended by 220 people. 220 people came out and participated in that consultation. So it is amazing to me to read an editorial yesterday in the Express implying that there's pushback from people who are going to be affected by the government's plans to do work in Port of Spain because there was no consultation, and that consultation is required. Well, I don't think that this is because we didn't consult the editor, because any newspaper in this country would have known that there was a consultation taking place at the Government Plaza where 220 people took part. But what was most interesting is that only Monday, I think it was, I made a speech saying exactly what I've said here. I went through step by step the 2018 meeting, the consultation, the number of persons who were there, and of course, there were 40 different stakeholder groups identified. And as a result of that, we were able then to bring it down, as we continued to communicate. 7 focus groups were developed. And let me tell you what the focus groups were, in case you read the editorial yesterday. On November 7th, 2019, focus group on traffic and transport management. November 12th, focus group on security and safety. That's 2019. November 13th, 2019, focus group on residential renewal. December 10th, focus group on commerce and investment. December 11, 2019, consider a tram system, and it involved discussion with the Dutch embassy, who was in fact interested in our conversation. And of course, focus group on homelessness and its reduction in the city of Port of Spain. All of this took place between 2018 and 2019, starting with a public consultation where 220 persons participated. And therefore, I was not surprised at the positive response that we have had so far to this initiative for the rejuvenation and regeneration of the city of Port of Spain. What we spoke about last Monday were the specific footprints in certain areas in the city where the government and private sector could have moved into mainly CDB type developments in the city. And we did mention what we had already been doing in East Port of Spain. So I can also say that, much to somebody's disappointment, there is no pushback in East Port of Spain, because we have already done part of this work. We are deep into phase one, where the consultation with the affected people was such that phase one, the land for phase one now has nobody on it. Out of that consultation came the exchange of property and the relocation of the lodge that was in East Port of Spain, which is moving to state property in St. Clair and giving to the state in compensation the land in East Port of Spain, and that is phase one. That's what UDCOT is moving into now. So phase one, there is not a single family, not a single person to be affected. And of course, there's no government policy about removing or relocating anybody. And that is where the mischief is, in trying to tell people that government is coming to move you, the poor people, to put the rich people in a developed Port of Spain. And that is why I was so shocked. Because even though we had not mentioned C-lots, the editorial mentioned that C-lots people, like East Port of Spain, are to be moved from land that they developed, no, by a heavy-handed government without consultation. And all that that editorial writer was trying to do was to create mischief in the country. 3 people, 3 pictures in the newspaper, 3 people saying they have concerns of it. But all the ones who wanted, not one of them managed to get a picture in the papers. I say this not because I want to fight with the media, but because I want to tell this country the things that we have to do in Trinidad and Tobago. We better get serious and get it done without this kind of approach. And no amount of negativity has ever done anything in the human habitation of the world. One has to be positive. It's only if you're falling under gravity that you go on your own. We have to be positive that these are can-do things. And if you want to see your country develop, you too are required to be on the can-do bandwagon. And today I want to congratulate this Minister of Health, because when he was told to get this project done, I'm sure he was not the only minister who was told that, but he is the minister who got it done and is getting it done, and we are going to get our headquarters here for the Ministry of Health, because we think positively, especially in a time of great difficulty. Look at when we are doing this. I have seen it said, we should not be doing these kinds of things now because it's COVID. Well, I will tell you, the IDB has agreed with us, they're experts, that now is the time when you do things like this. Now is the time when these things are to be done. Because there are many things working for you. And if you get it done now, then you would be on track to move faster when the COVID disappears, as it appears to inevitably will be done. It will disappear at some time. We're not going to live in COVID forever. What we are asking you to do now is to behave well living under COVID conditions. But that seems to be not going down well in the English language. Unfortunately, it's the only language I know, other than the one that we all know, which I will not use. But I must say I am amazed that some people in our national population could be so cavalier and irresponsible and selfish that after January to November being told about how dangerous this thing is and why we need to be going through what we are going through to evade its worst pangs, and all these people want to do is to party. I want to say to the national population again, we are not immune to what is happening to other people around the world. This virus is no respecter of gender, of race, of class, or economic standing. Do not play Russian roulette with it. Because if a group of people, whether it's 200 or 100 in a wedding in Valsean or wherever else, if you all do that and you infect a significant number of people in this country, and those infected people mathematically multiplied, and over a short space of time we get a large number of sick people in this country, there's one outcome to that. So far, we have avoided that outcome. And that outcome is there will be a large number of people requiring medical care at the health institutions and high intensive care and equipment and staff that we may not have. Maybe it is at that stage, that the people of Trinidad and Tobago, the irresponsible people, will begin to think that maybe we are in some problem here. I ask you to look at the hospitals in North America today, where outside of the hospitals, the equipment outside of the hospital at this stage in their pandemic experience are refrigerated trucks to store and receive bodies off the wards. Trinidad and Tobago is not. We are not in a position to say that that would not happen or can't happen to us. That is what the virus does. This whole nation is about the size of a small American city. So if you want to know how a city treats with it, go look at the number of cities in the United States today of our size, where their leaders are up to their eyeballs with COVID problems. From burnt out health staff, to not enough equipment, to not enough morgue space. And then I have to receive personal communication from people who want to sell alcohol in the establishment, giving me proof from some quarter that COVID is a hoax. But whoever you are who sent me that this morning, you will see that you were blocked. Because I will make no decision on that. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very difficult time for us. It's also a very exciting time. Exciting because the whole country is experiencing not only the negatives and the threats of a virus. In this year of the pandemic, where you younger ones will tell your grandchildren where you were when it happened. And those of us who are the older ones, we hope that we survive it. But there's a lot happening in the country. This development that's taking place in Port of Spain, you would have heard the Member of Parliament for Port of Spain North try to lay claim to the hospital. But that is the national hospital in the national capital. And what is happening there, any serious country having its main hospital in its capital is doing well. And our main hospital block, we were spared during that 6.7 earthquake. That block was condemned since 2009 by the engineers in Trinidad and Tobago. We survived the earthquake, and we did not want a second gamble on it. We took steps in a similar way to have now under construction next door to where we are now. We have a 540-bed hospital under tower hospital block. The main block in the Port of Spain hospital is under reconstruction, and on its completion will give us 540 new beds. And of course, recently, I think it was $80 million we spent in St. James to build the facilities for the Linac Center, which gives us the ability to treat cancer using the most modern of technologies. In Diego Martin, We have only recently opened the spanking Diego Martin Health Center, which is the envy of Port of Spain North and elsewhere. In Sangre Grande, we have under construction another hospital, which is costing us just under $1 billion, which will serve all the people from all the way on the north coast, all the way around, from Toco, Cumana, Rampanalgas, Sangre Grande, Kumuto, Manzanil, that whole catchment area. They are in line to have their new hospital because that hospital is under construction. In Point Fortin, we have just opened a new hospital down there, and Point Fortin's development, we're seeing a new highway into Point Fortin, which should be full and ready for use in 2021. And of course, a lot of construction taking place with respect to that sport-crazy population in Point Fortin, Mahaika and the grounds from Civic Center and all that. And UDCOT is already instructed to pay attention to the JP Smalls Village Home to see whether we can bring that back into operation sometime in the not too distant future. In Chaguanas, I had the pleasure recently to open the ring road around Chaguanas Phase 1, which brings up a certain amount of relief to the traffic in that fast-growing center. And I expect that the Ministry of Works very soon will get on with Phase 2 of that project. In Tobago, before the end of the year, UDCOT will be taking possession on behalf of the government of Trinidad and Tobago of the completed Roxborough Hospital, which is another part of the extremity of the country, which is going to have a health facility equal to and better than in many instances what's available elsewhere. And because we are developing the entire country, no one is being left behind. It was only about 3 or 4 months ago that we opened the Arima Hospital. It might have been about 6 months ago, the Arima Hospital. So if you look between Diego Martin, Sangre Grande, Arima, Port of Spain, Tobago, Chaguanas, San Fernando, and Point Fortin, Moruga, and elsewhere, you can only come to the conclusion that the entire country is experiencing significant balance and exciting development. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we anticipate the arrival of the APT James, it's part of our development too. Problem solved during a period of difficulty. Our vessel is on its way. It should be approaching Djibouti any time now. And on to, after that, the Suez Canal, and on to Spain, then off the Canary Islands, and then last leg to Trinidad and Tobago. These are the problems that governments have to solve, and I'm pleased to say that notwithstanding the difficulties that we are facing or have faced, that we, this government, we are having a positive approach because we genuinely believe that doesn't matter what hurdle is in front of us, that the future of Trinidad and Tobago is bright. And that is why I was disappointed in yesterday's editorial in the Express, because it was not correct, it was misrepresenting facts, and it was really aimed at stirring up the negatives that we can do without. People of Sea Lots, I personally, as Prime Minister, will be part of that consultation with the people of Sea Lots. And if I'm able to convince them that a better life can be had in the same location, not only for them but for the nation as a whole, then I'll report back to you. Until such time, may God continue to bless Trinidad and Tobago, bless all the people of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. The Prime Minister and his entourage will now proceed to the sod turning area. Ladies and gentlemen of the media, we ask that you take up a position that allows them to have significant room to maneuver in these COVID times and in light of the auspicious development for the health sector. The Prime Minister will be joined by the Honorable Terence Dial Singh and the Honorable Stuart Richard Young. And joining them on the flanks will be UDCOT Chairman, Mr. Noel Garcia, and NH Executive Chairman, Mr. Emil Elias. Thank you, Prime Minister, for your feature address. Thank you, Minister of National Security and Member of Parliament, Port of Spain North, St. Anne's West, for your welcoming remarks. And Minister of Health for your encouraging remarks. And on behalf of UDCOT, thank you, distinguished guests, captains of industry, members of the media, for your kind participation at this ceremony. Good day.
The winning numbers in the National Lottery online draws for Tuesday, 24th November 2020 at 10:30 a.m. Playway, the number 31 Parson Wife. Pick two numbers 21 and 29 in that order. Pick four numbers 2, 4, 1, and 1 in that order.
This November, get ready for The Gathering. We're doing things differently as we bring you a virtual experience like never before. The Gathering. Sunday, November 29th, across the TTT Limited Media Network, Suite 100, TTT, and streaming on Facebook at TTT Live Online. Get ready for performances by Chris Rojas, Blackie, Trisha Hamilton, Rome, Eddie Charles, Marcia Miranda, Baron, Kenny J, and Los Alumnos de San Juan. But let's not forget the reason why we gather. Due to COVID-19, we're virtual, but we need your support throughout this month of November. You can assist those less fortunate by dropping off safely non-perishable items and a toy for a boy or girl to Suite 100.1 FM Studios at 11A Maribel Road, Sinclair. This Christmas season, let's bring smiles to the faces and assist our fellow citizens. The Gathering, Suite 100.1 FM's annual Christmas concert and collection drive. The Gathering. Stay tuned to our virtual Christmas concert on Sunday, November 29th from 4 to 6 p.m. on Suite 100 TTT and streaming live on Facebook at TTT Live Online. Members of the TTT Limited Media Network, this is The Gathering.
This episode of Farmers Food COVID was brought to you by...
What if we told you the quality of a vegetable is determined by factors the eye can't see? Harmful pesticides and bacteria can wreak havoc on your health. A blemish or bug bite in your lettuce? That's actually pretty harmless. That's why at Grow, we believe your vegetables should always be guaranteed safe. For all the things you can't see. The GSCP seal on Grow packaging means it was supplied by a local farmer under the Grown Safe Cultivation Program. GSCP farmers have their produce periodically lab tested for pesticide residue and microbial bacteria to ensure optimal nutrition and safe consumption. So next time you visit the grocery, don't just look for bug bites and blemishes. Look for Grow, the root of goodness.
My name is Iran Melville. I'm presently the president of the Valencia Village Council, also a member of a number of different community organizations within my community. Well, I've been a farmer for more than 15 years now. I planted a lot of short crops in the past, in which have given me some strain on my back. So I decided that, I'll do something more into farming that will be less strenuous on my body. So presently I'm farming pineapples. With the COVID, we now have to sanitize more. On Tuesdays, we are carded for closure of the market for sanitation. Some of the farmers